さ、篠宮を誘った。俺はそういったジンクスなどは気にせんが、お前はそうではないみたいだな。どうする篠宮、お前は俺とこの映画を見に行きたいのか？
ここまでして私から断るなど愚の骨頂。それは乙女的にのそのような選択肢はノ
ー。Kaguya-sama has a live-action movie now. No, not that. A Kaguya-sama Love is War movie was released in early March by Toho Studios. And no one noticed. In the high of the franchise's popularity, with memes from the anime breaking into the mainstream meme pool, this movie made no impact at all. And from the intro, I think you can guess why.
ご主人様がなさりたいこと、なんなりとお申し付けくださいませ。よし、おいで。
It's bad. On top of that, it's 2 hours long, so sitting down and watching it was a challenge. Let's put it this way. If my high school drama club was doing a play on Kaguya-sama, I would expect more or less the same quality. We did have a pretty good drama club. But enough shade. Let's jump right into it. The movie was apparently not influenced by the anime, but by the manga. And the manga... well, it's definitely not bad, but it's the anime that truly completed the franchise. Also, Fujiwara in the manga does look a bit weird, like her hair weren't washed for a few days. Anyway. Parts that the anime skipped over in order to drop some dead weight are in the movie. Like the part in the first episode where Chika is like, I have 2 tickets for a romance movie. And while the protagonists were bickering about who would invite whom...
Whom?
Yeah, I said whom. Anyway, Chika turns the whole thing on its head by suggesting that they could watch a kids movie instead with some other tickets. And we never hear about it again. Well, in the manga, they actually go to the movies, but they pretend they went separately. So that's in the movie too. So after they cover one more chapter that wasn't in the anime, they pick some key chapters and move along the movie. They go with the love advice one, where Shinomiya spies on Shirogane with a drone instead of eavesdropping, for some reason, so this never happens. And then they cover the dick jokes one, which is the cringiest part of the movie, for me. I can't handle the cringe, to be honest. I get literal goosebumps when I see something cringy, and this took the cake. Why didn't they cut to a different angle for so much time? Why is the school council room 3 times larger than the one in the anime? Anyway, so then they do the Kaguya is sick arc. Obviously. Which is not as bad, because Hayasaka in the movie is one of the few characters that looks like this in the manga and the anime as well, even if it wasn't intentional. Then it's the summer vacation one, pause to have some time to show the clips, fireworks. And we reach the first episodes of season 2, where Shirogane's president term comes to an end. Now here's where they realize that it's been way over an hour and the story has to come to a conclusion, since it's not that likely that there's gonna be a sequel. So they go rogue. While exiting the school council room, Shinomiya drops and loses consciousness. We then are introduced to the only funny character in the movie.
これはですね、この踊りはリハビリにもいいという結論が出ております。私の踊りをしますね。ノーマーストレスのことでございます。
Dr. Tanuma.
Yeah!
Professor. Anyway, Hayasaka tells the council that Kaguya has the same thing that killed her mother, which was a heart condition. From that, Shirogane deduces that stress from her workload was what caused her to collapse. Right about that time, Kaguya announces that she will run for president, since Shirogane didn't want to do it, seemingly lying about her state of health. So Shirogane announces that he will run as well, thinking that the stress from being the president will only worsen her state. And Kaguya doesn't take it all too well. So we got an election rivalry. Shirogane uses his intellect and endeavor to get voters. Kaguya uses her money. Right about then, Kaguya is told by Hayasaka that Shirogane and Chika are having sexual relations so that he can steal her secrets and win the presidency. So without any confirmation, she decides to confront both of them in the final debate of the election, in front of the whole school. So yeah, surprise surprise, Shirogane and Chika weren't having sex. They were practicing for the anti-stress dance so they could help Kaguya. She doesn't believe them, so he does it in front of the whole school. Anyway, you get it. It's supposed to be cringy to most people who don't know the story, but wholesome for us, the viewers. But it ends up being cringy for everyone. So Kaguya is touched and praises him in her speech so that he can become the president, and then he starts praising her. It goes on for a while, to be honest. Long story short, she reveals that it wasn't a heart condition that made her collapse, but love sickness. We are 1 hour and 40 minutes into the movie, so obviously we do have time for a flashback to explain this. The gist is that the only way for her to be healthy is to be with the one she loves. So she then does the obvious. She walks away from the private conversation and announces to the whole school that she loves Shirogane. Just another day for Kaguya. Then he says it back and they start repeating it over and over until they start repeating it some more, but now in other languages. At some point they realize that they are standing in front of the whole school, even though Kaguya started talking about this consciously, and backtrack the whole thing, claiming they were talking about loving the school council, since in Japanese you're not very specific about this. And the movie ends right when it started, with both trying to make each other confess their love. But the problem is, they repeated it in other languages as well, and in those languages, the word you is clearly stated. So anyone in the room, hell, even them both, would know that they were talking about each other. It's a prestigious school, for God's sake. Also, why would they rush to conclude the story by putting together what I can only guess were parts of the later manga story with some of their own content? I don't know. If the story wasn't going to conclude in the end, they could just end like season 1, with the fireworks arc. So, let's name the good parts of the movie. Kaguya's actor is incredibly close to Kaguya in the anime. Shirogane though, looks like he has a cheap wig on. They didn't even try to recreate his constant glare. Dr. Tanuma was pretty funny.
No more stress.
I don't like reading the manga if there's a good anime of it, so I don't know if the doctor appears in the series as well, or the whole love sickness thing, to be honest. Lastly, Hayasaka's cold and lifeless stare was pretty spot on for me, but that could just be the eye contact. Also, if I am to nitpick, Ishigami's face also isn't quite right, and the movie portrays Shirogane poorer than in the anime. And finally this. Why Toho? Why? Thanks for watching, and please let me know in the comments why are live action movies of anime destined to fail? Up until now, I thought it was because we can't portray the action and costumes from anime in a realistic way. But it seems that slice of life anime are not that free from the curse either. See you next time.